Don't feel like going home, but all my cash is gone. Yeah, I got nothing to do tonight.
Right now, it's time for Tom Maoli's Go Big or Go Home Show. Tom Maoli's Go Big or Go Home Show will explain how you can start a business, grow your business, fund your idea, or the next multi-million-dollar invention, or how to buy that piece of real estate you've always wanted. Now's your chance to hear it live, right from the serial entrepreneur. It's Tom Maoli's Go Big or Go Home Show. Here's Tom Maoli.
Go big or go.
And we're back, high above the towers of Madison Square Garden for the Sunday night Go Big or Go Home show. I'm Tom Maoli. Here we are again, week after week. The guests keep getting better and better, and it's absolutely amazing, the response that we're getting. The phone lines are open, 1-800-848-9222. Call in with your questions. We talk about this week after week. I'm a serial entrepreneur. What's the purpose of this show? The purpose of the show is to teach people how to get out from behind the cubicle, how to get out there, how to take risk, how to start their own business, how to buy and sell real estate, how do you finance it, how do you do it. A lot of people have ideas. They're sitting in their offices or they're sitting home. They have an idea. They don't know how to execute it. Execution is everything. Tonight we have a very, very interesting guest. We have the master of toys. He was considered the father of modern action figures. The guy's unbelievable. He is, some of the products this man produced, and I'm sure that everyone out there that's listening has one in their shelf, in their garage, has played with it when they were children. On and on and on. He's produced products like Iron Man, the Hulk, Thor, Muhammad Ali. These are all dolls, action toys. Batman, Superman, Star Trek, Spider-Man, Planet of the Apes, Wizard of the Oz. One of my favorites, Sonny and Cher. Love Sonny and Cher, right, Jim?
There you go.
Got Jim Totten here with me tonight. Love Sonny and Cher.
All right.
Kiss. How about Kiss?
Beautiful.
Is that amazing? Farrah Fawcett. On and on and on. I could spend hours talking about what this man has produced. Over $3 billion in toys he has sold.
Amazing.
Is that amazing?
Right? I still have the Farrah Fawcett doll, by the way.
It's amazing. Here's a success story. Here is the American dream story. Here's a guy who basically had a dream. He actually, this is near and dear to my heart because this was one of my favorites when I was a kid. The Pet Rock.
Oh, right. There you go.
Pet Rock.
Rock.
Right, exactly. He Magnadoodle, Sky Dancers. He acquired the trademark to the Pet Rock.
Amazing.
And started marketing that. Absolutely amazing. The guy is it's absolutely amazing what this man has done. It is Mego Toy Company. Mego Corporation, Mego Toy Company. Unbelievable. Started in 1954. We're going to talk about this because here's the interesting part. In 1982, they filed for bankruptcy. Right? Amazing.
Yes.
Here's a company that files for bankruptcy. Guy comes out of it. He builds the company back up. It's absolutely amazing. And we're going to actually bring him on the line. We have Marty Abrams, who is the master. He is the master and the father, the godfather of modern action figures. If we could bring Marty on the line. Marty, are you there?
Hey, how you doing?
Marty, how you doing? Tom Maoli and I have Jim Totten with me here in the studio. And Marty,
hi, Marty.
I was just reading down the list of the stuff that you've produced and you made, and I could spend the entire hour talking about it. It's unbelievable. The list goes on and on. Fighting Yank, Broadway Joe Namath, amazing. One of my all-time favorites.
There you go.
Right? Action Jackson. World's Greatest Superheroes, Fashion Dolls, TV movie figures, comic action heroes, celebrity dolls, Micronauts, and then 2XL robots. Unbelievable, Marty. On and on. The list is honestly, it's probably one of the most intense lists I've ever seen for an entrepreneur. And that's what our show is about, Marty. We talk to people out there, and we get calls from people all day long who are trying to figure out how to do it. They have ideas, they have dreams and visions, and they don't know how to get it done. Your story is absolutely amazing.
Well, listen, you said enough for me. I have to hang up now because I can't respect.
Well, talk to me a little bit about Mago Corporation. Listen, as a kid, as a child, I remember it.
I do too.
Yeah, well, listen, it was a family company. My father started it. My brother was my partner in it, and we had a great 15-year run, and that's a pretty good run for any kind of a business. But like in every business, you run up against a wall and you make mistakes, and you take your bang. So we in the late 70s, early 80s, we probably controlled what they call the boy action figure market. We probably controlled 80% of it with all our characters. There are other characters out there like G.I. Joe, which was a great product line, a $6 million man. But we were just riding over everyone. And then out of nowhere comes Star Wars.
Star Wars. Who could forget Star Wars?
Yeah, and they just ate our lunch. So, we did not prepare for something like that to occur because we had so many different brands across the board. I think Warren Buffett said it the best. What you do when you're in business, you should have 2 or 3 different sources of income.
One of my favorite, I always say, my daughter's studying to be an entrepreneur in High Point University in North Carolina. I always say, you know what, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, and we put probably 80% of our eggs in that basket.
And Marty, reading your bio, I think you also had a chance to license the Star Wars characters, if I'm correct, right? Kind of, sort of.
That story is
has grown.
It gets out of a myth because at the end of the day, we were the licensee for Fox at that time. We were doing Planet of the Apes, which was one of the great successes we had. We were their number 1 licensee. And we happened to be, my entire management team happened to have been in the Far East preparing to do a new brand called Micronauts. And when that license came available, meaning Star Wars, there was nobody there in our company in the American side to even talk to. So
wow.
That's another issue.
That's timing.
It's all timing that you have to turn around and be prepared for. Because you can't just be the only source of the company that makes the product, and the other one who can make the decisions. You have to have other people in place to talk to and be with, and who you trust can make the right decision for you.
Well, it's interesting you say that because, obviously in the world of technology today, the world's changed different. In today's day and age, do you feel like they would have gotten in touch with you? You would have gotten that deal?
Well, listen, they did get in touch with us, but they had no idea what they had. And so what happened effectively was they turned around and got in touch with us. So when we weren't there to make the decision, yes, they just started walking around shopping the line to everybody that was possibly available. And again, the right place, right time. There was one company called Kenner that the right guy, the decision maker, was in place at that time when they made the phone call. He was there. He said yes on the spot. So it wasn't even the process of having the ability to go out and get it, because by the time I came back and my team came back from the Far East, the product line was already gone. It was already licensed. It was out the door.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. On the heels of what's going on in the world today, talk to me about Toys R Us. Right. Obviously you're the man. You're Mr. Toy, Mr. Action Figure. We have Toys R Us closing down the doors.
Well, listen. I grew up with them. I mean, you're talking going back to the Charles Lazarus era, the Cy Ziv era, the guys that could literally make or break a company on the spot. And they were located right outside the city of New York. So all the toy companies that in the 70s, the 80s, even the 90s, had bases here. So you could walk out to Toys R Us, show them a product, they would make a decision on the spot whether they would take it or they wouldn't take it. Now it's a different story. You've got computers and you running the companies. You've got organizations that are so huge, a la Target and Walmart, that are located in areas around the country that are not easily accessible to make those decisions. So you have to be much more buttoned up. You have to have your numbers in place. You have to have your product line costs down to the penny to make this all happen. And to make this work correctly, you really have to know today in terms of the marketplace what you're doing.
Well, listen, you clearly, you see the vision. We're going to take a commercial break and be back. I've got tons of questions for you. Our listeners want to hear it because a man with your experience, it's invaluable. Marty, Hang on the line. We'll be right back. We're going to take a commercial break. The phone lines are open. We have Marty Abrams, Mr. Toy, Mr. Action Figure. It's 1-800-848-9222. The phone lines are open. It's Tom Maoli, Go Big or Go Home. We'll be right back.
And high above the towers of Madison Square Garden, we're back. We're back with real estate, automotive, business, and finance serial entrepreneur himself, Mr. Go Big or Go Home, Tom Maoli. For more information, visit Tom's website, tommaoli.net. Tom, back to you.
You know, Jim, thank you. We have Marty Abrams. Marty is the father, the father of modern action figures. And Marty, talk to me about, we left off about, your business and all you've done. And obviously we talked about Star Wars, but, talk to me. It seems like, and I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in many businesses. I started businesses, sold companies. It seems like what you do, every time you come out with a new figure, you're at risk.
Well, it's continuous risk. The name of your show is Go Big, Go Home. That's exactly what you have to do, by the way.
Amen. Amen. That's what I believe in. If you're going to do it, you got to swing for the. Listen, if you're going to swing the bat, you might as well hit a home run.
Listen, you got to plan big. You got to go big, but you really got to plan small. And what I mean by that, it sounds like a dichotomy, but it takes time for this stuff to nurture it and start to coagulate, and for the consumer to turn around and understand it. There's so many more ways of getting to the consumer today between the digital marketing that didn't exist when we were doing it. But when you're planning big, you just can't throw tons and tons of money at everything that you do. Otherwise, you will go out of business. I mean, there is no continuity in that aspect.
Right. So talk to me in today's world. Obviously, back then, when you started, and the world was different. The internet wasn't there. We didn't have social media. We didn't have all the marketing that we have today. Manufacturing in China. What do you think about that?
Well, we were the first ones there for all intents and purposes. I was the marketing, the sales, and the finance head of the company. The manufacturing head of the company was my father, and he lived in China, in Hong Kong, for 15 years. He ran the factory side of it. So we had a duality of a family being, you could totally trust someone to be over there. Unlike today, the Chinese control everything. We controlled our own destiny.
Amazing.
So it was a different time and a different place.
So in today's world, obviously we're getting, retail is crumbling, brick and mortar is crumbling. If you were to start over, where would you market your toys? Where would you put your product out?
Well, bottom line is brick and mortar is not stumbling and it's not crumbling. I mean, you see, it's still 90% of the business. What the current large toy companies are doing it both ways. They're going online as well as brick and mortar. Having said that, if you go just straight online, unless you turn around and the magic hits, the lightning comes in a bottle, it takes you 2, 3, 4 years to build this up and grow. So you've got to be patient. The flip side of it, if you make the product and you get it to the shelves, then you have instant success or not. The customer then will know whether they like your product or they don't like your product. So it's really a combination of the two, and to get the maximum out of what you want to do in developing your product.
So tell me about because clearly I probably played with 90% of your toys as a kid, which is amazing.
I hear
you. Yeah, and tell me about packaging. How important is packaging in your business?
Well, the packaging is your marketing tool. You've got to bring that to the customer. They have to understand instantly what the product does. They want to see the visualization of it. They want to see how it works and how it can be played with. Interesting, last year the number one toy was a product that you never even saw the packaging. It was totally a closed packaging. You were totally surprised when you opened up the packaging what was inside. It was called LOL from a company called MGA Toys. They turned around and they reversed the packaging psychology. Don't know what's inside? Go get this magic trick. The bottom line of it all, what was ever in that package was a great toy. Because otherwise, if it doesn't deliver, then they turn around and you open up the package, and if you're disappointed, then they tell their kids, and their kids tell their friends, and their friends tell their friends, and the product dies. So the packaging is very nuanced. It has to bring the value of the product, has to have the product know what can and cannot be done with it, and then how you turn around how the kids they can play with it.
So what's the market like today in the toy business?
The market today, obviously, because of the Toys R Us situation, is at best standstill. What you're clearly seeing is everything is being licensed. I mean, the risk is being taken out of developing new products and new ideas by licensing everything. So whether you see whether the brand new movies Black Panther has had tremendous success with. Star Wars, the whole Marvel superhero, DC comic position.
Amazing, so powerful.
But it's interesting enough. I was there in the 70s. All this is a new look on an old story, because whereas Mattel has DC and Warner's, and Hasbro has Marvel, I had them both.
Wow!
Wow! And then when you add on Paramount, because I had the Star Trek. And then you add on Fox because I had Planet of the Apes. For all intents and purposes, when we were doing it, we had everything, and we knew that was where it was going to happen. The good news was I had everything. The bad news was I had everything, because if I didn't have everything, then the whole situation with Star Wars may have been a different outcome.
Amazing. Marty, we're going to take a 1 second. I have Mike from Williamstown, New Jersey, who has a question. Mike on the line. Go ahead.
Hey.
How you doing, Mike?
Good. How are you?
Good. How can I help you? What's your question today? We have Marty Abrams on, amazing toy maker, businessman, entrepreneur. Is your question for him or is it for me?
Well, for everybody. Whoever can answer my question will be helpful. So, basically, I have like a really old stamp collection that I inherited from my dad, who passed away, like 20 years ago. And I'm not sure, what to do with it. I think it might be worth something, but I just don't know how to handle it.
Well, listen, I would go out, find a stamp appraiser, get it appraised, find out what it's worth. I would get 2 valuations, and then obviously decide whether you want to sell it or not. Hopefully that helps and answers your question. I appreciate your call. We're going to have to continue because we have a commercial break going up. Go ahead, Jim.
Marty, I just had one question talking about the tie-ins with the movies. Tom, you didn't mention it, but one of the things Tom has is auto dealerships. One of them is Lexus. The tie-in with the Black Panther movie
it's amazing.
Was Lexus. We just did a launch premiere, and the whole Black Panther thing was part of it. Right, Tom? It was an amazing connection to see and be in person and be involved with. What about your feelings on that?
Well, you saw in conjunction with Hasbro, when Toys R Us has all their issues with the marketplace being contracted because of that, because Hasbro was there with Black Panther, they're not only their stock held, their future looks very strong across the board because of the future movies that will be released in this category. It's opened up a whole new genre because the company. If you wind back 2017, you look at the huge hits of Wonder Woman, Black Panther, Jumanji. All these groups of characters were women, blacks. It was the area that we not in the action figure market really focused on. Now it changes. So what does that mean? That means the whole marketplace has to widen. And when the marketplace widens, more characters then can come out, and more characters then come out, then you're driving more sales and getting the kids into the stores. And that's what Toys R Us is. We miss the Toys R Us because they had so many different brands that you could go in there and find things in the collector's area that you couldn't find anywhere else.
Is somebody ready to jump in on Toys R Us? To take over that type of business model, or is that just a dying breed?
No, that's not. Listen, there should be somebody. I'm not privy to that point of view, but there should be somebody because the business model was such. It wasn't because the company didn't work. It didn't work because they had such debt to service to handle when they took the company private that it just screwed up their entire cash flow in terms of their company moving forward. That was the burden that they turned around and took on, which they should never have taken on in the first place.
Very interesting. Right. Very interesting when going from public back to private. Clearly, it cost a lot of money to do that. Marty, we have Peter from Manhattan who has a toy question. Peter, are you on the air?
Yeah. Yes, I am. Hi, how are you doing?
Great.
Great to be on the air and great to talk to Marty Abrams. I had a question about, this is something interesting because he was there, when certain toys were very popular and he knows what generates interest. And therefore, my question is, there are certain toys, collectibles, let's say from the 50s, I don't know when he started exactly, but let's say 50s, 60s, certain ones that are have turned into collectibles because when people were children, they played with them when they were kids. Certain ones command a very large premium and certain ones not. What determines that? Even though both are rare, so to speak.
Well, that's what determines it. It's the rarity. We have there's stuff in the legal collectible market, and by the way, when we first started doing this, we were clueless this was going to become a collectible. This was not our entire premise was to expand our product line, not going down the collectible.
Hess trucks. Who knew what Hess trucks were going to be worth today?
Amazing.
Right?
Great,
Exactly.
Tom.
Amazing.
Perfect.
Right. Or let's say Tonka. Who makes the old box cars? The box cars. Is that you or that's a different company?
I'm sorry. Who are you talking to?
To Marty. All those those cars that came in those cardboard boxes, in the '60s or whatever. Was that you guys made that?
No.
Pardon?
No, that wasn't us.
So what line? I'm not familiar. What line? What were you making? In the 70s?
It's Mego Corporation. It's action figures. It's superheroes. Peter, I don't want to cut you off, but if you have a question, you got to get Marty. We're going to take a commercial break, and we're going to be back. Marty, if you can just hang on the line, we got a few more questions. Very interesting. We got Marty Abrams, the man. He is Mr. Action Figure.
Fabulous.
Yeah, fabulous. We're going to
Fabulous.
take a commercial break. The phone lines are open. It's 1-800-848-9222.
Go big or go home. Go big or go home.
And we are back with the Go Big or Go Home show starring Tom Maoli. This segment is brought to you by Celebrity Motorcars of New Jersey, the largest luxury car dealer in the Northeast, with stores Lexus of Route 10 in Whippany, BMW of Springfield, Mercedes-Benz of Golden Bridge, New York, Maserati of Morris County and Bergen County, and Alfa Romeo of Morris County. For more information, visit celebritymotorcar.com. Back to you, Tom.
Thanks, Jim. And we're back. We have Marty Abrams, the godfather of modern action figures. Marty, I have Connie from Brooklyn on the line who has a question for you. Go ahead, Connie.
Hi, Marty. Hi, Tom. Hi. So I have a question for you. In terms of games, I invented a few games, and I want to try to get them on the market. And I wanted to know, you had said that the market for toys is standstill at best. I wanted to know if you know how the market is for games for kids, and also, are you kind of up for doing any kind of consultation to help me connect to the right company to get it on the market?
The answer, to give you two answers. One, the games business, especially the board game area, is really cooking. It had a great year last year, and will continue to grow this year.
Well, my games, sorry to interrupt, my games are for boys and girls. They're not just for boys.
No, he said board game, Connie, just to clarify.
Sorry.
Board,
See,
yes.
good, I clarified. Mine are. One is very card based, and another one is actually with boards and cards, and the third one is sort of like a social. I don't know exactly how to describe it in a second, but like a social game, but it also has very small boards and tokens and.
Well, here's what you really have to do. You have to take your top game, whichever one you think that is, whichever one you think is your best game, where you think it has the most opportunity for you, and then you finish that off, and then you can literally turn around and if the guys want to give you my phone number offline, they can, and I'll tell you where to go and who to see and how to get it placed at certain companies.
Connie, you can hit my website. It's tommaoli.net. It's tommaoli.net. Hit my website. There's a place where you can put questions, recommendations in, put your information in. We'll get it off to Marty, and hopefully when he has time, he'll get back to you. We appreciate the call. Marty, we're going to go on. More questions. I want to get them in because the listeners are waiting. The phone lines are backing up. There's other people that have questions also. Talk to me about, do you get emotionally attached to when you make a toy?
Well, listen, it's like giving birth to a baby. Understand?
I'm an entrepreneur. I knew the answer. I just wanted to see how you felt.
Yeah, and we're doing it every single day. I mean, we're still in business. We're still creating product. In fact, we're introducing a whole whole brand new line this summer at Comic-Con, which we know by the very nature when we come out with it will be a huge success. But understand you've got to get the idea first, and then after you get the idea, you've got to sketch it up and see how it looks. After you sketch it up and see how it looks, you actually have to build a 3D model, because whether if it's an action figure that looks like a character that's already in the marketplace, well, that's easy. But if it's a new idea, and not just an action figure, then you have to see how it looks and then how it works, because then it will tell you what it's going to cost. And if you don't understand your costs, you can then resell it, because you have to be, no matter how good the product is, it has to be competitive to what's currently out there. And so you have to find the right costing. Then you have to get up to a manufacturer, and he's going to turn around and verify all this work that you've done to this point. Then you got to make tools, packaging, market it. Now you're ready to turn around and go out and sell it.
Exactly.
Right.
See,
Right.
What you just said there is what the people and that my listeners have to understand and what they have to learn, because it's not just, there's a process. You have to go through that process to get there. It's not just, A to Z. The process is amazing, and what you do on a daily basis to get a toy to market is absolutely insane. The risk you take, the money you spend, the research, the packaging, getting it right, getting it out there, and obviously the more experience you get, the better it becomes. We got to the emotional side of it, because clearly I get that. When I start a business or I start a company, it becomes a baby, right? You grow it, you watch it every day. You're launching a new doll, a new toy, an action figure. It's a baby. What's your favorite? Tell me your favorite. Of all the toys that you've done, what's your favorite?
It happens not to be, well, I've got two. One obviously is Micronauts, which was...
Now, these are toys, Marty, so they're not going to know what you say.
They won't take it personally.
Micronauts was a brand that we co-developed with a company in Japan called Takara. We literally took the size of the action figures down from 8 inches to 3 3/4 inches prior to Star Wars. Star Wars copying our size. We turned around, and it had the ability, because it had a 5mm plug on its legs and its back and its hands, that it could turn around and stand on one foot, plugged into a whole different range of things, whether it be a Jeep, whether it be a tank, whether it be a plane, whether it be another robot, across the board. And then you could turn around and have backpacks, and you could then plug in, and then you could, once you had that.
So the dolls have toys.
The dolls, the action figures had
exactly.
The action figures had toys, correct. And the other one, which the individual item that was one of our great items that lived long independently after we went out of business, is a product called Magnadoodle. It's very similar to Etch-a-Sketch. It was a magnetic.
Loved Etch-a-Sketch.
Yes.
Loved Etch-a-Sketch.
But Magnadoodle was a more creative product, and you literally had magnetic ink, and you had a magnetic pen, and you could draw with it. And there was a honeycomb piece that drew the ink up to the very top. And in your design, and when you wanted to release it and change the package, or change the look, you just took a magnet across the board, and it all disappeared.
Amazing. It's on and on and on. It's just, I get it. I get the emotional attachment. What about the bell curve? Is there a bell curve? You put a toy in the market, you get out there. Do they launch? Do they skyrocket? And then do they start, weaning off? People have them. They get tired of them. How does that work in your business?
Well, there is a bell curve, and there's even a bell curve for Barbie. I mean, Barbie dominated that business, the girls' fashion business, for 50 years. But in that bell curve, products like Bratz came in and took a piece of the action. Princesses from Disney came in and has taken a piece of the action. There is a bell curve. What you hope is that you can cross that bell curve and you become a status symbol, literally, in the industry. That's what Barbie has become. But all the other brands, I don't care if it's Star Wars, I don't care if it's the action figures in terms of Marvel and Warner's, I don't care if it's Transformers. They run out because you've saturated your marketplace inside an age group. And that age group really runs about 7 years, from about 3 to 8 to 10. And once the kid starts at 3 or 4 collecting or playing with those toys and leaves at 10, you've taken him through the entire cycle. You have to then rebuild that cycle of a whole brand new audience. Unlike when you sell to an adult, the doll transfers over. So you can sell Tide to a woman at 20 or to a woman at 80.
Amazing. I want to talk about distribution and inventory when we get back, because that's a key part of anybody's business. Listen, I was in the distribution business, 750 warehouses around the world. We have Michael from Long Island. Michael has a question. Go ahead, Michael.
First time, long time. Thanks. Love the show. Marty, I wanted to know how Todd McFarlane toys affected the business, specifically maybe yours. You talk about the Star Wars toys, but the thing with McFarlane toys is they made action figures bigger. They made them articulate more. They put them in poses. They had really, really, really great detail. And I think it just changed the way toys were, because they also made them a little bit more collectible by doing a lot of different series, even color series. And then they made them taller and yet more affordable at the same time.
You know, he bridged two things. He bridged the collector market and the play market. So he literally upgraded the toy market, and then he probably downgraded a little bit on the collector's market until he literally created his own collector's position. His stuff was just brilliantly beautiful across the board. You know, we were the first guys to do Kiss, and literally when we left the business, he then picked up that license and made it a whole lot better in terms of what he was doing with the product. But that was his first really major breakthrough of non-McFarlane created brands, because he had his own characters. So when you say he didn't change the business in terms of what he enhanced it, and that's what everything is happened today. Everything is being enhanced just a little bit in terms of a little bit better sculpting, a little bit better design, a little bit better packaging, and nuanced across the board. He's a great innovator. He's done wonderful work, but I wouldn't quite give him the level of what you want to do is make it, say, the change size, because the guys at Mattel and the guys at Hasbro, the guys who do Turtles, Playmates, I mean, they were right with him step by step.
Michael, thanks for the call and thanks for the question. We're going to take a commercial break. It's Tom Maoli, Go Big or Home. When we come back, the phone lines will be open. It's 1-800-848-9222. Go Big or Go Home. We're on the air with the godfather of modern action figures, Marty Abrams. We'll be right back.
And we're back. We are back with real estate, automotive, business, and finance serial entrepreneur, Mr. Go Big or Go Home himself, Tom Maoli.
Thanks, Jim. And we're here tonight. We're on the air with an amazing entrepreneur, the godfather of modern action figures, Marty Abrams. Right. And we also have Barry Farber on the phone. Barry, are you there?
The Godfather. I love it. Great show.
The Godfather of modern action figures. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Marty, I have a couple questions, and I got to say, Barry's out there in front of Madison Square Garden shooting off Go Big or Go Home T-shirts. And eventually, Marty, we're going to get you to make a Tom Maoli Go Big or Go Home doll.
Listen, my pleasure.
There you go.
Absolutely. No doubt. But
what do you call it? Chuck Barris came to me with the Howard Go Sell doll.
Oh, my God. Great.
Every time Howard would say something, you smacked on the head and said, Howard, shut up.
I love it. Absolutely. We're going to make a doll where we hit it on the head, and they said, what should I do? And it'll say, go big, go big, go big.
Perfect.
Love it. So Marty, you started in the 50s, and we got Barry on the phone. Your company started back in the 50s, and I'm into history, I'm into sports, I'm into all kinds of things, and professional wrestling was always near and dear to my heart when I was a kid, right? And now you look at the WWE, and they all have all these action figures and dolls of all of these WWE characters. By the way, started in the 50s by Gorgeous George. What do you think about that?
Well, listen, that was before my time.
Okay.
I didn't start till the late '60s, so you can't. I was very young. So having said that, I'm fortunate enough to still be alive, and because I'm still alive, I still have the same enthusiasm of a 14-year-old because I want to turn around and continue to make toys. Gorgeous George was a character, but there are a huge amount of characters in the WWE today. Welcome to the world of action figures.
Amazing. And now let's talk about distribution. Distribution, inventories. How do you know how much inventory to buy? You have no idea how successful a doll's going to be, right? You make a Howard Cosell doll. You make a Barry Farber doll. I don't know if anyone would ever buy that thing, but whatever. Anyway, maybe we sell one. I would buy one, but
I'm in.
But anyway, moral to the story is: how do you know how to plan your inventories?
You don't. And so what happens is you have to turn around. And that's what I said is your planning and your marketing. You have to literally build your tools before you make your sale. When you go to your large customers, the Walmarts and the Targets of the world, the Rite Aids, the CVS's, the Toys R Us's of the past, Kmart's across the board, they don't want to talk to you about what you're going to do. They want to talk to you what you're doing. So you can't come with a model. You can't come there with a picture. You have to come there with a finished, tooled up product. Especially if you're a brand new entrepreneur. Under no circumstances will they believe you. Having said that, when you then go out and do that, if you hit the right product, and you've got the credibility of your marketing and your sales team around you. I mean, if you're an individual who has never done this before, you better have professionals around you taking you to the right people, because you're going to have to trade on a lot of their credibility. So you trade on credibility of your staff. You trade on a finished product. Once you then do that, then you make your sales, and the best way to do that for a young group of people who want to get started is to make the goods in the Orient and sell it FOB the Orient, where the retailer takes possession
Good advice.
of the product in Asia. You make you give up a lot of your profit, but you take away your risk. And that's what we talk about, go big or go home. By going big, you have to have everything in place.
Go big or go home. It's the only way to go. It's what I preach every day. It's the way I run my life. It's the way I live my life. I love it. I love it. How big is the international market?
Well, it's about 1-to-1. You're talking about an $18 billion toy industry in America and about the same thing worldwide.
So China obviously is big. Is it a growing market?
It's a huge market, and I'm really not giving you the full impact of what China is done, because at the end of the day, they're working in their big distribution cycles with American toy companies, a la Hasbro, a la Spin Master, a la Mattel. So I'm not really talking about that market per se, but I'm talking Asia, Korea, I'm talking about Japan, I'm talking about Australia, I'm talking about India. Those markets you have a better handle on, and of course Western Europe. That collectively is about 1-to-1.
So how much of your decision making, you see someone come out, a new star, obviously he's not new now, but Justin Bieber, right? You got Justin Bieber comes out. How much of it is it, you make a doll, it's going to work, or how much of it is your gut?
Well, perfect. You picked a good one, because Justin Bieber was done by a very good friend of mine who turned around, and he then had to turn around before he sold the piece, had to put up what they call advance money, and then guarantees on top of that if you're going to go out there and do a license. So, for example, something like Justin Bieber is probably a 7-figure combination, advance and guarantees, which means then you have to do at least $10 million worth of money to recoup that advancing in guarantee.
So you're talking advance to the star, to the person who you're making the action figure of.
That's correct.
All right. Well, I'm only a 6-figure advance, so don't get excited.
Not bad.
That's in quarters or in checks?
Absolutely. No, listen, it's very interesting. So is it gut? Go back to it. Is it gut? Because I say it's about your gut. You got to feel it.
Well, listen. Sometimes it's gut. And sometimes it's feel, but most of the time it's expertise. I can remember going back when I did The Wizard of Oz, and that was a mistake. I'm watching it on television, it was during 1973, 74, and it was a magical moment. And I got young kids, and they loved it. And so I turned around and I said, well, let's talk about doing something like this. And I picked up my publicist. And he was very good friends with a guy named Mervyn LeRoy, who was the producer of the movie. And so all of a sudden, everything came together. The stars, the previous production team, across the board.
Serendipity.
Yeah, some of it's serendipity. Some of it's just knowing where to be there at the right time.
Well, listen, interesting. Listen, Marty, we're going to have to cut off. You know, we're coming to an end here. We appreciate your time. Invaluable knowledge, invaluable information. Marty Abrams, the godfather of modern action figures. Marty, we appreciate your time. We look forward to next week. It's Tom Maoli. Go big or go home. We'll be back next week, high above the towers of Madison Square Garden. Good night.